What is going on, everyone? My name is Drew Spencer with the React and Attack Football Podcast, where we try and go over NFL content from all 32 teams every single day. And boy, oh boy, there's always something going on in the NFL world. And if you like what you hear, make sure to like and subscribe. And let's go. Well, it seems that there's so much NFL content to explore out there with the beginning of the season. I figured I'd do more. And the first game that the main game I want to talk about in all this is involves Chicago heading down to Detroit. Ben Johnson taking on his former team, trying to come back from a reeling loss against Minnesota. And we're going to see how this all goes down. But before I touch really on this game, um, I got to talk about an article that I saw. A couple. It came out about a week ago. I read it about 3-4 days ago, probably the Saturday before week one, and an article by Tyler Dunn or Dune from the GoLongTouchdown.com, and he wrote an extensive article where he had anonymous sources that were former um, members of the Eberflus staff, and it basically encapsulates everything about Caleb Williams, the drafting of him, and essentially why there was such a seismic collapse last year for the Bears season, which everyone initially in the media had good positive things to say about it and say, hey, this Bears team's going to be good. Well, that all fell apart pretty quickly. And start with the first part of this article, which delves into Caleb Williams. And, you know, I want to preface this, though, real quick. Again, these sources are from fired NFL coaching staff employees that played for this franchise or work for this franchise. Look, I kind of get it, man. I'm not a perfect person. If I get fired, I might be like, yeah, fuck that place. It might slip out. I might not completely badmouth them, but we're all human, right? We someone does us wrong, we might get a little mad. We might exaggerate why we were so mad. So I'm taking this with a little bit of grain of salt, but so many of what is going on and what's being tossed around in this article is pretty damning. And it's like, damn, if this is all exaggeration, then why is everyone lying so hard? Um, so the first part of the article comes down about Caleb Williams and essentially his lack of work ethic, his nonchalant approach to things where, I mean, they were asking him to, hey, come to the weight room, do your lifting with the rest of the team. And he was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Lifting's not really my thing, coach. Like it's dumb. Like, come on, man. Like, I was not expecting you to do some crazy amount of the D linemen are doing. Just get involved with your team. He would be telling the veteran receivers like Keenan Allen, like, nah, you should run your route this way. And that didn't go well. A lot of veterans on this team realized that the offensive staff was trying to coddle him, trying to use stuff from USC, use that in the playbook because, well, this is going to work for him. Trying to do everything that they could to make this work, which, yeah, that sounds good in theory. You want your number one overall pick to come into a great situation to be in order to succeed. But if he's not putting in the work ethic and you're just trying to put the training wheels on in the NFL, you're gonna get your ass handed to you, man. Like that's just how it goes. And as it kept going in this article, reading more and more, well, the biggest complaint that these ex coaches had um, with Caleb Williams, it seemed, was that they couldn't get him to read the play or understand the play, to regurgitate it back, to call it out of the huddle, to execute the game of football, especially if you're a quarterback. This is how it works, right? He wasn't able to do any of that, apparently. I mean, there was some part of the article, again, it could be exaggerating, but while they were on page 3 of the playbook, he was on page 5. And they'd be like, oh, what do you do? And like some kid in class, and it's like, dude, it's wild, right? But then you read more into it, and then you find out Caleb Williams has dyslexia. And a lot of good players have had dyslexia. I'm not sitting here being like, well, we can't play football then. No, of course not. But this coaching staff didn't know that he had dyslexia. And then I read part 2 of this article where it's all about Ryan Poles. And with the GM Ryan Poles of the Chicago Bears, in this part of the article, it's all about how he went about trying to draft and get Caleb Williams. And it's damning, man. It's ridiculous, frankly. As someone that's like my like dream job in the world would be to be an NFL GM. And I'd probably get kicked out and ran out of the town by like 2 years anyway, but always wanted to do that. You would think you would you would put more effort into this because literally during that quarterback class with guys like Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, they didn't look into any of them. In fact, one of the more damning things that I read was that Ryan Poles brought all his scouts in and played Drake May tape, one of his worst games, and highlighted only his worst throws, all the negatives. And then to a point to make a joke and be like, hey, this guy sucks, right? Well, then another scout was like, hey, like, actually, but look at this game. In this game, Drake May was able to do X, Y, Z, right? And look like a first round quarterback. And instead, it was like that meme where like the guy brings up a good idea and then like the CEO just looks at him and throws him out the office window. Like that's what happened. And they basically had no chance. There was nothing going to dissuade Ryan Poles from drafting Caleb Williams. And the biggest reason and the most damning thing is that this guy apparently cares so much what the media thinks of him that he is willing to just forego doing your best job, trying to be a leader, trying to be a GM at the NFL level, and trying to build a Super Bowl constructed roster. And instead, he's like, nah. I mean, one of the stories that was said in it was, they had the chance before they traded back, right, with Carolina, and they were talking about, well, do you want Bryce Young? Nah. Do you want C.J. Stroud? And he was like, if I draft another Ohio State quarterback, they're gonna kill me. The media, dude. First off, you can't scout helmets. That's stupid. Don't pretend to be a scout if you do that. and second, dude, the media's gonna flame you if you suck and the team sucks. And guess what we just saw happen in week 1 here? And it seemed that, they lost and it's those same old Bears. What the hell, man? But yeah, Ryan Poles even, withheld the information from Eberflus and the coaching staff that Caleb Williams was dyslexic. And, it's crazy shit like that. But regarding Ben Johnson and his return back, I want to preface last game real quick too for them because there was a moment that I saw Ben Johnson lose his soul, and I wonder if it seemed like it was the play wasn't going through for Caleb Williams. And look, I don't want to bash too much on Caleb Williams, man. He's going into his second year. He has all the talent. He can bomb it, man. He's good. He has all the talent in the world. And that's part of the reason why I'm sure he didn't feel the need to practice and train as hard, because all throughout his life, all throughout college and in his childhood, he's just been the best, right? And it's like, what do you mean I have to get better? Uh, but again, I'm not trying to bash on him too much. And unfortunately, when you're the number one overall pick, these type of articles hit you a little bit harder than any other really pick. So again, a grain of salt. But you know, going into this game, man, Ben Johnson, I know he's gonna want to have something to prove here. I don't think it's animosity. It's just like, hey, I want to beat this team, not only because we're division rivals, obviously, but just to just show the respect and stuff. And um, I think the Lions right now are in such a on the flip side of all this, the Lions right now are in such a weird spot where last week they they look bad, man. They look like, honestly, offensively, they look pretty bad against Green Bay. And don't get me wrong, Green Bay is an excellent team. Playing in Lambeau week one. Yeah. I saw it, but we need to see more from that offensive play design in general. It almost seems that nothing is meshing well. And you lose 40% of your offensive line, two of your players. You lose those guys, and you realize that Jared Goff, much like Tua Tagovailoa and a couple other quarterbacks in this league, and that's not to say that these guys are bad, but if there's chinks in the armor on the offensive line, essentially, then these guys aren't going to be able to step up and create at a high frequent level. Not saying that they can't every once in a while do something like that, but it makes the job a lot harder. So the Lions offensive coordinating needs to dial it back, try and continue to figure out what's working, because they look like a mess. And we know that Ben Johnson's going to have some trick plays up the sleeve, man. Um, it's going to be a really fun game. I think there's definitely some negative narratives going around overall with Chicago, especially losing in that sense in the way that they did. I think that Ben Johnson's going to want to right some wrongs. He's going to be in his bag. And we'll see, man. I think it's going to be pretty fun. I could see Dan Campbell getting, in his bag and calling those risky fourth downs that make you make us all clench up a little bit. um, but yeah, man, super excited for this game. Had to channel this one down, man. It's crazy. So let's see what happens.